Hey guys, the name is Kris Barocsi. Welcome to comment time number 8. As usual, I received tons of really cool comments, so let's get right into it. But I have one more thing to do. Besides doing the comments today, I also want to take you on a journey. I have 2 awesome guitars here and a big mug of coffee. And these 2 awesome guitars are my Gibson ES335 and a buddy of mine's ES330 with a Bixby. The 330 is very similar to a 335, the same body shape and everything. There's just no tone block, no wood block in the center of the body, like under the pickups. So they do sound radically different. And this buddy of mine offered to swap guitars, which is interesting. So in today's lunch break recording session, I'll be doing comments and guitar testing. And I want to see your opinion on that. This came under my video where I compared my Strats Tele bridge pickup with my Tele's Tele bridge pickup. Dan Crowell: Kris, I never liked my Strat bridge pickup. Your video inspired me to install a Tele bridge pickup. I settled on a Seymour Duncan APST-1 Twang Banger. What a name! Awesome. That sounds like a Tele, but it's a Strat shape. It sounds great and didn't require routing the body. It's very nice to hear about the Twang Banger. I've heard about it earlier, but I never had any personal experience with it. So in case any of you guys know more about it, maybe even use it, let us know, because I think it's a very useful info for all those who just cannot be bothered or don't have the chance to reroute their Strat to put it on actual Tele bridge pickup. So if the Twang Banger from Seymour is that good, then it's the ultimate solution. You don't need the extra holes on the pick guard. You don't need to reroute the body, which would be awesome. This one came from Daygov under my most important gear on pedal boards, the pedal switcher video. Hi Kris, thanks for the video. Are you getting the same results with the buffer in front of the pedal board? Okay, this is something that many people commented. For a good reason, I totally get it. Of course, if you have the buffer in front of the pedal board, you change the impedance of your signal to low impedance, which will then maintain more of your high end and just signal and everything while it travels through your pedal board without a switcher. So it makes a lot of sense to have a buffer in front of the pedal board, maybe even more than having it after your pedal board. The reason why I tend to use buffers at the end, first of all, I will use a switcher anyhow because I just cannot live without them anymore. It's just way more comfortable to play. It saves your sound, so why not using it? And the other reason is that fuzz pedals hate buffers. You cannot put a buffer in front of a fuzz and expect them to sound the same as without a buffer. I love using fuzzes, and I have my fuzz pedal, whichever I use that day, in my first loop on the switcher. Which means if I want to put the buffer behind that fuzz, I will have to put a buffer in the second loop and leave that loop on all the time. Which will then, I will have to sacrifice a loop for a buffer. And there's not an option because I only have 6 loops on my one control switcher, and I don't want to lose a loop. And also there's a really interesting story that will probably prove my point why buffers are important but will not solve this problem alone. Like around a year ago, I offered in the guitar department at Thomann. In case you don't know, that's the place I work at. I offered to build a really small, sort of clean, noble pedal board for the custom guitar room in the shop with something like a tube screamer, then something like a blues breaker kind of overdrive. You can pair them, stack them, or use them separately, and put maybe something like a Strymon reverb or whatever on it, and a tuner, and that's it, like a really small board. And I put this together, and I had the TC Electronic Polytune 3, which has the high quality buffer in it, at the front. So I was like, oh yeah, cool. We don't need a switcher here. We have the buffer, then 3 high quality pedals. After it, that's it. It sounded nice. But then I unplugged the cable and went straight into the amp, and bam, there was all the high end, all the dynamic range, everything all of a sudden in the sound. It's like, what is this? This cannot be. So then I put a switcher on the board and put the pedals in loops, and the problem was solved. So having a buffer in front makes more sense than having the buffer at the end of your pedal board, but still it will not solve the problem. And yes, even this pedal, this one of the best pedals ever, the Flint from Strymon with the tremolo and the reverb on the other side, such a great pedal, and even this swallows tone. If you have one of these or you have access to it, try it out. Just take 2 3-meter cables and plug it in, play through it, even if it's bypassed, then take 1 6-meter cable to have the same length, of course, and go with that 6-meter cable straight into the amp instead of through the pedal. You will know and hear what I mean. It's wow. Old Man Zan wrote under the Gibson Battle Les Paul versus Custom Shop Les Paul video. That custom shop is spectacularly beautiful. And sure, there are minor differences in the tone, but in some of the tests, if you blindfolded most, they probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference. The main difference is how they feel in your hands. Personally, I've never been a fan of gold top Les Pauls, but like I said, that custom shop is gorgeous. Perceived sound is very important. If you have a good sounding guitar, your audience will hear that. The manager, producer, the bandmates, whichever, everyone will hear that, and you too. So that is of course very important. Even more important is the feel and the reaction of the guitar. Like if you dig in, it pops out or compresses, whichever you prefer and feel more comfortable with, will make you play better. And that is the most important feature or spec of a great guitar. It makes you play better. And it doesn't have to be the most expensive guitar. I have a €170 guitar that I enjoy playing as much as my €4,000 custom shop Les Paul. They do sound different and the affordable guitar has its limitations, but I enjoy playing it as much. If you want to generalize, I would say that custom shops and expensive guitars will impress and inspire more players than, let's say, affordable guitars or lower medium price range guitars. For all the reasons, not only the specs, but the mixture of pickups and wood and this and that, and just how it's built. It's impossible to put the actual difference between like a custom shop and a normal production guitar on any kind of spec list. It's something you have to try out, feel. If it feels right, you know what's up. If it doesn't feel any better, then you don't have to worry about it anymore. Ricardo Koha, so sorry man, commented under my switcher video. Awesome video, learned a lot. Is there any switcher that could control pedals in front of the amp and pedals in the effects loop of the amp? Let's say solo boost before the preamp and delay in the effects loop with just one stomp. Absolutely, yes. All switchers can do this. You will have to loop in your amp's preamp. That might sound a little weird, but it's basically a 4-cable method, what you're using or what you're doing. And that means that you choose like one of your loops in the middle. Like let's say you have, I don't know, let's keep it simple, 3 loops on your looper. You have one loop for your pedal in front of the amp. The second loop is gonna be your preamp, your amplifier basically, and the third is gonna be the pedal in your effects loop. What you're doing is you take the second loop and go with the send from this loop into your amp's input, then you go from your amp's effects loop send into the return of this second loop, and then with the output of the switcher you go into your amp's effects loop return. So that's the 4-cable method. If you do this, it's of course very important to have this second loop where your amplifier is looped in, the preamp of the amplifier is looped in, to have this loop always on. If you turn that off, you will have no volume, no sound, no nothing. So loop 2 will have to stay on all the time. Loop 1 and 3 with the pedals in them can be turned on and off depending on what you want to have. And yes, of course, with one stomp, you asked if it's possible. All programmable switchers can do that. You can program all sorts of combinations of loops being on and off with those switchers. And also if they have an amp control input or connection, they can also change the channel on your amp. So many brands make switchers nowadays, which is awesome. So yeah, go for it. It's totally doable. This one came from Brian Drummond under my Telecaster video. What physical differences that directly affect sound account for the difference in price between a Custom Shop 53 reissue and, say, an American standard Telecaster or an American professional Telecaster. Pickups, wood, electronics, what? I shot a video a couple of months ago which could help you to understand what I mean by saying spec lists are important but will not tell you if a guitar is good or not. You can put the same pickups, same bridge, and use the same type of wood on two guitars, and one will be awesome and the other will be really bad. And that's because a guitar is way more than just the sum of its components. And to answer your question, yes, of course, there is a difference in the specs, hand-wound pickups, blah, 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 best sounding pickups from Fender, you'll get them in custom shop guitars. The best selected wood, less weight, better resonances, nicer grain, that kind of stuff, you'll get that in the custom shop. Nicest necks to play, rounded off edges, this and that, you will get that in the custom shop. So there are, of course, spec-wise also differences that you can sort of read on a list and compare and everything. But what you cannot read and definitely cannot compare in theory is holding one of those Teles or a custom shop in your hand and playing it. TW commented under my Les Paul versus Custom Shop Les Paul video. Without measuring the actual capacitance and the pot taper, the tone pot test on 7 unfortunately doesn't tell us anything about why it sounded different. Les Paul components have significant tolerance ranges. The sum of a lot of little differences argument for the total package doesn't really follow either. It could be that most things don't matter at all sonically and just one or two do. Unless you listen and measure, we're all still basically in the dark. It would be great if we could move beyond speculation. Thanks a lot for the comment, TW. It's so interesting how in all of the comment sections on YouTube, there is like a handful of people who are dead serious about comparisons, and they get really angry if you're not enough scientific. I totally get your logic, and I'm absolutely with you as long as we're talking about engineering stuff. But as soon as we're talking about music and tools that help us to create music, I cannot be too scientific. It's just way too emotional. Like a brand new guitar I never played before, and I start improvising on it. Do I fight the guitar? Does it feel okay? Or does it make me play things I never played before? And that is not measurable. You cannot put this on a piece of paper. That's just something that happens inside you and like between you and the instrument. Strat 5150 wrote under the Les Paul versus Custom Shop Les Paul video. Cool, now swap the pickups and retest to see if the difference is 99.995% pickups. I highly recommend watching my video I did a couple of months ago where I compared my buddy's 58 reissue Les Paul with my 58 reissue Les Paul. I swapped even electronics and pickups and bridges and everything on the guitars to prove that hardware, pickups and electronics is just a part of the sound. This one is from Big Ed. Whoa. I don't buy this. I really dig great guitars, and for sure there are some great ones and not so great ones. For the most part, I love the gold top, and I'm very happy my Harley Benton Black Beauty has a long tenon too, lol. No, you did not solve the problem. I don't think it's the custom shop thing which makes a guitar sound great. They even don't know why one sounds great and the other one doesn't. Does a guitar with beautiful woods sound better? Come on, no. Do aluminium tailpieces sound better? No, not my experience. Okay, let's start at the beginning. For the most part, I love the gold top. Totally cool. I also love that gold top. It sounds fantastic. I just prefer mine. And I'm very happy my Harley Benton Black Beauty has a long tenon too. Oh yeah, of course. I don't think it's the custom shop thing which makes a guitar sound great. Yeah, it's not like a guitar is awesome because it's a custom shop. It's like if a guitar is built in a custom shop or a boutique small company, those builders actually care about their guitar. So they will select all the components to fit together. For example, the guys at Macmillan Guitars will custom wound pickups per guitar. Like they have a guitar finished and they play it like unplugged and feel how the guitar sounds and resonates and everything. They will wind the pickups to match that unplugged sound. This is like a general rule that those who build custom shop guitars or boutique guitars care about those instruments. And about your question, if beautiful wood sounds better, and you say, of course not. Yeah, of course not. You are absolutely right. Beautiful wood is just beautiful wood. There's a difference in visual quality and actual tonal quality. If a piece of mahogany weighs a ton, it will resonate differently and will give you a guitar that sounds different and has different sustain than a piece of mahogany that's way less dense and weighs way less. Good resonances and good weight is also something that's very important and is an important factor for custom shops and boutique makers when they're selecting their wood. It's not just how flamey it is or what kind of bird's eye it has and this and that. Do aluminium tailpieces sound better? No, not my experience. First of all, yes, aluminium tailpieces make big differences, but it is important in which guitar it is. It's important what kind of cable you're using, in which amp you're going into, and if you're playing clean or distorted, this all matters. Like for example, there's this friend of mine who tested cables, cheap, medium price, super expensive cables, guitar cables, through an orange amplifier. And he turned on some distortion as well in the amp and everything and played some stuff, and basically at the end he told there's practically no difference between this really expensive one and like a €6 cable. And I went like, yeah, whatever. If you play that amp set up like that on that volume and use this guitar to test cables, you will not hear anything. You have to know which components you need, like which guitar, which amp, how to set it to make those differences more noticeable and more obvious. No one has a chance to hear those differences if the components in that shootout are not right. If you don't hear the differences, it's all good because you don't have to care about them. It's great. You save money, you save trouble. Let me know in the comment section what you think of these two beautiful guitars. This is the ES330 with the Bixby, the one without the tone block. So it's actually really loud. I mean, this is the acoustic sound of the guitar. Sounds like a jazz box, almost as loud as an acoustic. So cool. All right, you guys take it easy. Have a nice week. I'll be back with another video. Take care. Bye-bye.